Welcome! This video contains an introduction, an interview so you can gain deeper understanding of the subject from spirit level, and a group frequency calibration so you can start to clear the frequency distortion patterns around this topic. Enjoy! Hi everyone, my name is Karen Cheong and I'm here with my co-host Dennis Kelly. Today we're going to be addressing the difference between discipline and control. Now, the way we speak about these topics in our culture, they appear to be the same thing. However, there is a very subtle but very profound difference between the two, and how we approach these in our lives really impacts how productive we are and how much ease we experience. So we can either experience struggle, a lot of efforting, and very little progress, or we can experience massive productivity and a lot of ease. So let's jump right in. Dennis?
Karen, you really have got me intrigued here. Discipline, control. Subtle but powerful difference.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Okay. I'd love to tell you more. So control actually comes from a space of fear. So that is about the primary frequency pattern in control is fear. It is why we need to control and make things the way we want.
So I can feel safe and
so you
secure.
can feel safe and secure.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. That's what control really is. And discipline is actually from love. Now, I know that seems surprising to you.
Slow down.
Okay.
Slow down.
So the reason discipline is from love is because I'm talking about different discipline from a higher perspective. All right. So discipline is true discipline. Discipline connected to pure source is about love. And it's love because it's a choice. So it's not a muscling through of fear to control something. It's actually a choice. So it's a choice that we give ourselves because we think to ourselves, okay, well, we're answering the call of what serves our higher self the best. And then we choose whether or not we want to answer that calling. So for example, do I really, really want to eat that piece of chocolate cake? So control, or right, would be like, no, I can't eat that, that's bad for me, I shouldn't do that, whatever. Discipline, or the way I'm speaking about discipline, this higher perspective of discipline, has to do with what serves my greatest and highest good. Right? So am I going to feel really good after I eat this? Am I going to serve the most people like this? Whatever it is. And then I get to choose, do I want to have that? And I love myself enough. I love myself enough to choose to not to. But that's not really control where I'm like forcing myself. It's because I love myself enough and I want the best for myself that I choose not to eat that piece of cake. I'm not saying cake is bad, by the way. I'm just saying in this particular example. Yeah.
So here again, you're going back to a previous session where we talked about really one of our innermost desires is to fall in love with ourselves. And to be in this body and to cherish this body and to really live a life as full as we can. And so you're linking that love to the discipline I would have to realize that.
Yes, exactly. So that's why it's softer and it's not as hard. It's not as like, it's not about controlling something because it's a choice. There is choice there. And you're answering the calling of something greater than your mind, right? Of like what should be done.
Exactly.
What do I think I want?
Wow. I got to ponder that for a second. And I heard you say something else earlier in a session about ease and grace.
Yeah.
So does that tie into this discipline?
Yes, exactly. Thank you for asking that.
I don't want it to be work. I don't want it to be a commandment. I don't want it to be some kind of dictator type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
a taskmaster.
You have to do this.
Yeah.
So it's with ease and grace.
Yes. So yes, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Well, that I
just got excited.
I just like you. So, but and I'm just trying to get it.
Yeah.
And so what it is that I have the discipline because I do have this tremendous inner desire to be connected to divine source, pure source. And so because of that, and that desire to just truly fall in love with myself and to realize that and to see what that experience is, that I don't have to do it out of control.
That's right.
Or force.
Yeah.
I can do it out of just a pure discipline.
Yeah.
Because of that desire.
Yes, exactly. And so therefore it's a choice. And the thing is that, as we experience frequency work, what I'm calling discipline, or this higher form of discipline, comes in very, very naturally. Because as these distortions fall away, we can hear that calling of that higher self, let's call it, or the spirit body, even more. And so therefore our preferences change, and we start to listen to ourselves more. It's like, no, I actually don't want to eat that, or I do want to go to the gym, because it's not because I have to make myself, because I need to conform to a certain way that I want to look. It's out of joy, because you're like, you know what, I want to go to the gym because it's fun, and I like feeling my body, and I like working out, or going for a run in the park, or taking my dog on a walk, or whatever the heck the experience is, because it's not about driving yourself to do it because you have to, and you've dictated it from your mind. You're experiencing this celebration of living at your highest potential, which is really fabulous.
Amazing.
And if you choose not to, that's okay.
Yeah.
So, and then you can choose again. It's not like this horrifying, like crushing, like, oh my God, I have failed because I happened to eat that chocolate, or whatever it is that you have,
So basically what you've taken out of the equation is fear.
Yes.
Is that sometimes I realize so much of my behavior, my action, my words are fear-based.
Yes.
So you take that fear out.
Yeah.
And now it's just a very natural discipline.
Yes. And what happens is we become more focused, more in alignment with our calling, because it's not really work. So it's effort. Okay. So it's not like there's no effort. Just want to make that very clear. It's not like you sit on the couch and eat grapes and like stuff appears. I mean, I guess that's possible for some people, but for most of us, that's not what's happening. So there is effort required. But you know what? It's kind of like when you work out really hard and it feels really good. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I do. And I kind of enjoy the efforting. It's actually pleasurable in some way, even though it is effort. So in the same way, it's this wonderful expression of that, this wonderful expression of following that calling, of following. It's just, again, it comes back to following.
Yeah. So I'm trying to tie all this together. And so where you come in and how you could help me is going back to that distortion that I might have that is connected to that fear. If that can be changed or released out of my thought pattern, it would be more natural for me to have the discipline and to connect with pure source, or whatever that might be called. Is that true?
Well, it's not really out of your thoughts, so it's just out of your field. So we just remove the distortion pattern. Yeah. Okay, and then what happens is that thought becomes irrelevant. It's not that it disappears. It's just that something else comes in that's greater than that thought. So you don't stop thinking that thought because it's not really that relevant anymore. So I'm not saying you never will have the thought again, because of course you might have the thought again, but it's just a matter of, oh, something else comes in that's greater. And so even though it may be efforting and it takes discipline, like for example, to even create these video series, even though it takes work, it's joyful because it's just this, we are here to create. We are creators. That is what we're here for, to create expressions of life. And it's just this amazing thing that we get to have, and we get to do it on the physical plane. So this is simply creating more. And yes, it's effort. And I suppose you could call it work, but I don't really call it work. It's really just allowing that energy to come through into form in this particular manner. And does it take hours to do it? Yes. Does it take effort? Yes. And it doesn't feel hard, and it's extraordinarily productive, because what happens is it not only more easy for me because I'm not trying to power through it, but then people come in to help, whether it's in the series, you, pop in. These wonderful people are helping us film. Pop in. And how did you all show up? I don't know. You just kind of showed up and to help, which is this amazing. And then we can combine our gifts to create something really amazing. So that's what I'm saying. It's like a higher form of discipline where there's more ease, but yet so much gets done without so much effort. I mean, not effort, without so much like hard struggle is what I meant to say. Yeah.
So back to the basics.
Okay.
If I come to you and Karen, I admit I'm a control freak.
Yeah.
It's, if somebody's going to drive the car, it's going to be me. If somebody's going to lead the parade, it's going to be me. If somebody's going to decide what time we leave, it's going to be me.
Yep.
I need to be in control.
I understand.
Because that's where I get my safety or security.
Understood.
That's just who I am. That's my nature.
Yeah.
That's my nature.
Yeah, you believe it's your nature. Yes.
And you don't.
Not necessarily, because oftentimes it's not really you. It's the distortion patterns that you've often, for most people, including myself, because I was a control freak myself, it's how I became successful. I just controlled everything, muscled through it.
Yeah.
So yes, you can get success that way. And when you surrender and allow, and this higher form of discipline comes in, and you remove these distortion patterns of this fear, which oftentimes comes from lineage. Honestly, 85% plus of all this clearing is lineage. It's a bit of a doozy, I know. Yeah. But lineage, once you clear these lineage patterns, that starts to release. Now, I'm not going to say in one session it's like gone, because these are layers. Right? These are layers of duct tape. Yeah. So it may show up, clear, and then in some other future time clear again, because there's layers of it in different ways and different forms that we manage our fear. But yet what happens is we start to notice that, wow, we can just let the dishes sit there overnight. I don't have to put them in the dishwasher right now. I can just let them sit there. I know it's tough, but I can do it.
So let me ask you, and I'm sure probably the answer is it depends. But I heard you talk about, well, it's not just going to clear in one session.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? So do you set up a series of sessions, or do you just play it by ear? Do you just see what the response is?
Yeah.
Or?
So my answer to you is it's always up to the person to decide. I will never, ever choose that for you, because it's your free will. This is about your journey. Yeah. It's not about me dictating this for you or you creating a dependency on me. This is about what is the calling of your higher self, of your soul, of your spirit body, whatever you want to call it, right? So it's about your connection to pure source. So there's some people who are like, yeah, that's it. I totally want to have a session every week with her, because I feel like I can move that fast, and I want to move that fast, and it really benefits me. Other people take a little bit longer to process, and so they have a session with me every 3 weeks or whatever. And some it's longer, and some I'm imagining will be even longer. And that's totally okay, because it's up to each person. We have so much binding around us already. I certainly am not going to add another layer of that. It's really up to intuitively what you feel is best.
Well, the one thing I'm concerned about is I don't want to become dependent on you.
Yeah, and I don't want you to either.
Okay.
Yep.
So as far as a relationship then, is that we really don't know what that's going to look like. If it's once a month or once every 6 months or twice a year or whatever that is. It depends on me, my journey, how fast do I wish to move, how far do I wish to evolve. And so it's back to me.
Absolutely. And it's about whether you're willing to look at yourself and what you can release and how much fear you have. All that stuff will play into that decision. Whether or not you're conscious of it, all those things will impact the decision, whether you're aware of it or not. And that's totally fine. It's up to you.
It seems like you really enjoy this work.
Oh, yeah.
and I call it work, but I don't know what to call it. This play or this.
Whatever this celebration of
this
awakening.
This opportunity. Yeah.
Because it's beautiful to watch people awaken to. It's amazing. It's an honor.
It has to be.
Yeah. And to watch how fast some people can move, like between sessions, they may not even be aware of it. That's the irony, like sometimes, is they're not aware that they've had a session, and I look at them the next session, I'm like, wow, it's so different, like on spirit level, like so much brighter, so much clearer. And it's not just me, I mean, this is a collaboration. This is me and you together doing this. So, and I'm really just helping, like, you know, your higher self, your spirit body is dictating this. So, yeah, and even though you may not consciously be aware of it, the shift that can happen is so vast. It's amazing to witness.
I'm really curious,
Yeah.
are there certain situations or people or traumas that you're better at than others? Or are there, from your experience,
Wow, that's a good question.
have you found that, yeah, that's easy peasy. Oh, wow, that's extremely difficult.
It's harder for me to work on someone if they're not willing to look at themselves. So like, no, that's
I'll
not
sit
it.
here, but you do your thing.
Yeah, and you know, that's just, no, I don't see that in myself at all.
Yeah.
Like, really? Oh, okay, that's great, you know? And their spouse will be like, no, really, that's happening, actually, all the time. But you don't seem to be noticing it. Okay, great. So it just depends. Does that make sense? That's the harder person.
So that is one of the biggest attributes that
Yes.
a person needs. And I've heard you say that
Yeah.
before,
Yeah.
is look in the mirror.
Yes, exactly. Are you willing to look at yourself? And whatever else it is not like, you know, whatever it is, like, it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
As long as the person is open to
Yeah.
receiving. I mean, I've had someone come on who was angry because their spouse made them have the session. And that was hard, actually. But because that person was so resistant to me.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult position. But even with that person, within 10 minutes, softened and they were able to move. So even if they're resisting, I mean, part of the reason they're there is because their higher, like their spirit, their higher self wanted them to be there. And so even though it was their spouse who kicked their butt into being and having the session with me, even if it wasn't consciously desirable on their part, it was on some level desirable for them. That's why they're in front of me, or not in front of me, but you know, in a session with me. So, but even then, because even though they're not aware of it, they want to be there. Within 10 minutes, we're moving. Yeah.
So,
So I'm sorry, just to interrupt. And with that story, that person came out of the room later, and their spouse told me later, they were almost smiley. I thought, oh, okay, well, there you go. Almost smiley.
Almost.
Yeah. And they're never like that. Okay. Well,
But I bet you got a big thank you, though.
Yeah, well, yes.
So just another kind of perspective.
Yeah.
Mental issues versus physical versus emotional.
Irrelevant.
Does that make any difference to you?
No. Because I'm working on the distortion level. At this frequency, I'm sorry, I'm working at the frequency level on the distortion patterns.
Yeah.
So that so far transcends this physical plane.
Yeah.
That stuff is irrelevant. It doesn't matter.
Because I think a lot of people think, you know, I've been everywhere. And I've been to psychics and doctors and shamans. I've been everywhere. And I still have this challenge. So why would you think that you could help me?
Why would I think that I can help you? Well, because you've showed up in front of me to be helped. So therefore, I will. I don't know how to answer it any other way. If you present yourself to me in some way, then you are meant to be in front of me in some way, and therefore I can serve you in some way. And whether, it doesn't really matter what you've done before, really.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of what's happening right now. And chances are I'll be able to help. Yeah, chances are.
Yeah.
There are not very many people who can do this kind of work.
Yeah.
So, and it's time now. I'm not the only one, obviously,
Yeah.
and more of us will happen because we're all here to help humanity rise in terms of our ascension, in terms of our awakening.
Wow.
So that's what it's really about.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Karen, could you help me? I hear so often when I look at your video or your website, GFC. Exactly what is that?
A GFC is a group frequency calibration, which looks a lot like a guided meditation on a particular topic. And what I'm doing is I'm helping you to remove the distortion patterns of that particular topic. And because you're coming together as a mastermind in a group to connect to pure source even more and to clear the distortion patterns of this particular topic, what happens is a tremendous amount of momentum starts to happen because of the energetic of the entire group, and each individual is able to move faster and ascend higher than they could have on their own. Welcome everyone to the Group Frequency Calibration, or GFC, on discipline versus control. So let's begin by taking 3 deep breaths together into the solar plexus. So please inhale, holding the breath in for at least 3 to 4 seconds before exhaling all the air out of your lungs, and then holding out the voided breath or the exhaled breath for at least 3 seconds. On your second breath, please inhale, holding your inhaled breath for at least 2 seconds longer than you did your previous breath. And then on your own time, please exhale all the air out of your lungs, holding out your exhaled breath by at least 2 seconds longer than the previous breath. As this is happening, the mastermind is beginning to gel. And on your third breath, inhaling as much as you possibly can and holding your breath for as long as you possibly can. And when you think you can't hold it any longer, hold it for 1 second longer. And similarly, when you exhale all the air out of your lungs, holding out your exhaled breath for as long as you possibly can, and then hold it for 1 second more. Mirroring discipline in the body. Becoming very aware of your body and its relative position in the room or wherever you happen to be. And whenever you are complete with those 3 breaths, please continue to breathe normally into your solar plexus. If you're new, please note that I'm working on you as a group, in subgroups, occasionally as individuals. And the mastermind, as I mentioned, has almost completed its gelling. A mastermind is when 2 or more individuals come together for a common intention, in this case, the highest and purest intention, which is to connect to pure source even more, which means that you're connecting with people's highest selves, their purest selves, which then results in tremendous momentum on the spirit level, which allows us to move faster and go higher than we could have on our own. Taking another deep breath into your solar plexus. And if you are new, please note that I will be making sounds on my end, such as snapping. You might hear me exhale sharply. You may hear me yawn, even though I'm not tired. And you may hear me hum. And these are simply things I do currently on the physical plane to remove the distortion patterns. Luckily that will change with time, but that's currently what's happening. So please use these sounds as an opportunity to strengthen your own focus. So the first distortion pattern that we're going to remove is that of an overly rigid rule set. So being bound, depending on the subgroup, by cultural or religious, sometimes both, rules of what is appropriate, what is inappropriate, behavior, thoughts, ideas, conclusions, beliefs, all of it. Okay? All you have to do is continue to breathe into your solar plexus. And why don't we do this before we move on? As you breathe into your solar plexus, please imagine or ask yourself in your own mind the following question. How can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? That question again is, how can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? And as you ask yourself that question, please imagine, see, sense, feel, or become aware of a brilliance that begins to glow deep, deep, deep within your solar plexus. As you connect or become even more aware of your connection to pure source. And this brilliance starts to expand, get brighter, and on my end, I'm helping you to expand your natural bandwidth in your connection to pure source. Mm-hmm. So now, please breathe into your upper solar plexus, or just at the base of your sternum. So your sternum is where your ribs meet in front of your body, that thick bone in the middle of your chest. So the base of it is your xiphoid process. So if you press on it, on that fleshy bit just beneath the bone, it's sore a bit, it hurts. Please become very aware of that spot. And this is resistance to discipline. That's the distortion pattern. For many of you on the call, you don't like discipline. You feel like it's too rigid, too confining, too constrained. And you feel like it's being imposed on you. This is the traditional sense of discipline. Yeah. The subgroup of you who feel that way because you were disciplined very harshly when you were young. Some of you, another subgroup of you that's much larger, didn't have enough discipline when you were younger. And so now it's harder for you to have the impact you want because it's not something that you're accustomed to. So discipline, as was discussed in the video, is a process of mastering oneself out of love for oneself. So it's difficult to have that happen if you have this pattern running. So removing this for you so that a higher order of discipline or discipline from a higher perspective can come in for you if you choose it. Please note that if I say something that really resonates with you, it's likely you. And if I say something that you react strongly against and that you think can't possibly be you, it's likely you. So I invite you to open to that possibility and to explore that possibility, to see that within yourself. Okay, so now please imagine, see, sense, feel, become aware of a tube from your belly button all the way to your lower ribs. Yeah. So this is a distortion pattern of liberation. So you don't feel free. So depending on the subgroup that you're in, you struggle very hard to feel free. So you don't ever feel free. Even though you take actions that seem like they have no control or behaviors that are not as controlled, you don't really feel free. So there's a big pursuit of that. Even though you may say that you're free, deep down in your heart, you don't really feel that way. There's another subgroup of you that feels very, very bound. And you're resigned to the binding. And there's another subgroup of you that is not only aware of the binding, but is afraid of it and is angry with it. So let's remove all these distortion patterns. So it causes almost like a rebelling or a pushing against, which can often result in sort of self-sabotage. So right behind this pattern is the distortion pattern of low self-worth. And that is specifically having to do with, I'll never be worthy of being free. And how that relates is that if you're free, then you get to choose what you want to do for yourself from a higher perspective. Even if sometimes that means curbing your behavior, because it's best for you to do that for your highest and best good. So, releasing this distortion pattern. As you breathe deep into that point, beneath your sternum, that was a big one for most of you. So the next distortion pattern in the same area has to do with fear. And this fear is of what you'll do with all this freedom. It's like you don't quite trust yourself to know what's good for you. So this is a distortion pattern that's also a control form, a control thought form. Because as you awaken and connect more and more, or become more and more aware of your connection to pure source and your higher self, it will become clear to you what is beneficial to you, what is most beneficial to you. So removing this fear. In addition to the frequency distortion pattern of lack of trust in self. Yep. Okay. So breathing into your solar plexus again, between your belly button and where the ribs meet in front of your body. Managing your pain bodies a little bit, getting active as we start to shift this perception. And open you up to a higher perspective by clearing these distortions. Good. And as you breathe into your solar plexus, please imagine yourself softening into your solar plexus. Yep. Just notice if you can rest and be at ease here in your solar plexus. And for those of you who would like to release more of the need to control or the tendency to control, there is a GFC on the website called Control that could benefit you. So if you feel called, please visit us at sphericalluminosity.com. In the meanwhile, I'm going to let you be in this place for as long as you'd like, and I look forward to meeting you on the next GFC.